You always just don't act when like defending.
I think it's like
And we're live. Technical difficulties or not, we're here. We've got Alex in the building. You saying, my guy?
good, sir. Apologies about this.
Mine, there now you can do about it.
Internet.
Is what it is.
I've also got a new camera. Can you see?
Slowly can tell now that you drew attention to it. Yeah, man.
Okay.
So as you can see, folks, hella technical difficulties, but we're here. Many hours later, but we are here now, man. You saying?
We're live. We're good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. We're finally starting to get signings. You know, in June it was all doom and gloom. In July, it seems like everything's moving forward. Obviously, we can only deal with what's been confirmed. We'll get into everything, but yeah, man, we got a lot to discuss. Madueke madness, Sesko / Gyökeres is looking like Gyökeres, Zubimendi, who I'm very bullish about, and the rest of it, man. So let's kick it off, Alex, man. Let's not waste any more time, man. Obviously, you would have seen yesterday, Sunday, for those who don't know where I'm referring to, we're moving in advanced talks for Gyökeres. What was your initial thoughts with that?
Well, I'm
don't
pleased...
go too hard on the player yet. There's structure, but yeah,
I'm pleased that we're moving for a forward because we've needed one for a long time. I think there was a world where I was kind of going, is there a world that Arsenal don't sign a centre forward this summer? Like, would there be a world where I would be okay with that? If we say we got like Rodrigo and I don't know, Leao or something, is there a world where you're okay with no centre forward? And I don't think there was. No. So I think from certainly from an optic perspective as well. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing to get that sort of going and over the line. Also, it looks like it's going to be done sort of pretty quickly, or certainly before pre-season, hopefully. Yeah, and I think someone's just said it in the chat. I think there's a clear desperation from Gyökeres to play for Arsenal, which I think is one of the pros.
Left his girlfriend and all sorts.
Oh, did he?
Apparently, he's left his girlfriend. He's not prepared to go to training. It's the mentality I want for my striker. If he'll do all of that, Alex, to get a move to Arsenal, what the hell will he do to score?
I see. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if that's true, then amazing. What personal commitment. But yeah, I think. Look, I'm pleased we are getting a centre forward over the line. Am I convinced this is the best centre forward Arsenal could have got on this market? No. But equally, there are other deals. Like for example, the Norgard deal. I go, if we do X, Y, and Z, that deal looks better. If we, the Madueke deal, I'm sure we'll come on to later. It's one of those things where you go, if, then you can begin to understand it. I don't think Gyökeres needs too much contextualization. I think it becomes better with, let's say, a Rodrigo and maybe an Eze. I think then I'd be much happier with it. But look, yeah, I'm pleased we've done it before we get on to my concerns.
As you said, I'm pleased we've done it. I'm pleased again, I can't count my chickens before they hatch. He's not in an Arsenal shirt, but it does seem like it's progressing quite fast. It's one thing, as you've alluded to tick off the wish list. Ideally, before pre-season, we all know how complicated the modern day is in terms of systems with managers. We all know how complicated Arsenal system is. So the quicker he gets to grips, the quicker we can focus on outgoings, or as you alluded to, the Ezes, Rodrigos potentially coming into the football club. So, and it's just one thing to stop waffling about. Like, we've known we've needed a striker forever, really. So I just want him through the door. I must admit, I do like Gyökeres. I like the fact that it's a win now signing. It's 27. We'll get into it, but it's 27, all that stuff. Equally, I'm a big fan of Sesko. Either way, that's not happening. I did find myself, Alex, moving towards whether it's Sesko, Gyökeres, whatever people want, just get me my striker now, because that's where I was getting a bit bored with it, if I'm completely honest. So it's nice to see we're making progress. For you, purely away from the players, yeah, because we got a lot to discuss in that, but away from like why you wouldn't like Gyökeres or would like him, in the same for Sesko, why do you feel like we're going for Gyökeres now? Because Sesko seems to be someone who's putting the groundworks in for a while and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Like, for you, why do you think we've gone down the Gyökeres route? Is it Berta? Was he, where is it for you?
Yeah, I think Berta is a massive aspect. I mean, I don't know. I still don't know the final fee, but I can't imagine it's much higher than 60 million euros or something, or 65 million euros, something like that. And I think for a player, for Gyökeres, I think that makes sense. Look, as you sort of brought up on screen there, I think Hand of Arsenal spoken about it. There's been various reports that Leipzig are just not budging. And I think in this new approach with Andrea Berta, which I think has benefits and drawbacks, but we can sort of talk about that in a second.
Let us know that as well after you finish what you're saying, because it's
sure. Okay. Well, yeah, I just think that, yeah, to finish that point, I think this is a new approach and we're not getting stuck on targets as much. Look, I think ultimately I've sort of used this analogy before. and I wish there was a sort of better one because maybe someone could help me with it. But I've used the analogy of a sniper versus an assault rifle. When you have a sniper, which I think is the kind of the Edu approach, and you're targeting someone for a long, long, long time, and you pull the trigger at the right time, and you get it, one shot, done, brilliant. Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, like, you know, those types of deals are fantastic. But it's felt as though we haven't had the ability to pivot in the same way as you do with a sniper. You set up a shot, right? Berta feels more like an assault rifle. He's shooting all over the place, but we will end up with a target. Now, it may well be that we end up having what I would say, a maybe less clean record under Berta, because I think with Edu, I think when we shot and we got it, generally it was all right. Like, if you know, obviously there's exceptions. There's Nuno Tavares or Sambi Lokonga, or whoever you could say. But when you compare Arsenal's recruitment over the last 5-6 years under Edu to, let's say, I don't know, Chelsea or to Tottenham or whatever, we've got a lot more right. I think Roberta will do more deals, and we won't end up in the same situation where, for example, last year we ended up with 22 people registered in the squad. We could have registered 25. Like, I don't think we're going to end up in that situation, but we might also end up, you know, maybe with Edu, we would have pressed on with the Šeško deal and waited till the end of the window and risked it not working out. So there's benefits and drawbacks. Maybe you don't get your absolute top targets, but also I think with Gyökeres, we can't, you know, and with all players, maybe at this point with Arsenal now, we have such a strong foundation. Those last few moments, let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good. We all know we needed a centre forward. I don't think Gyökeres is the perfect centre forward, as we'll get into, but at least it is a centre forward, and we might not have been in that situation. So if the fee's going up for Leipzig, I get it, and I do think the Berta thing, as you mentioned, is a big aspect of this.
I don't think I can disagree with that. Do you feel like the direction you've alluded to with Bear, obviously we're gonna, whether you like it or I like it or not, that's where we're moving, but do you think it has, like, it's going to be better than Edu's, or it's shaping up to be? Because for me, kind of what you said there, like, we've got a good foundation, we just need a bit of sprinkles, as you kind of said. You know, when it works with Edu and we've got one target and that's all we're chasing, when you get over the line, you're happy as Larry. But as you also said, when we have an inability to pivot, powder dry, we tried, we're going to focus on the market to come in the next few days, doesn't really help us. So, like, do you feel this Berta thing takes us to the next level?
You're decorating your house. You just moved into a new house. Your missus, her approach is to really take her time and go, right, we're going to make sure we get we're going to go to 10 vintage shops and ensure we get the right sofa at the right price, and we're going to do this, and we're not, you know, and I know the room's a bit bare, but, you know, I just want to make sure we get the right artwork. I'm going to IKEA and I'm just getting everything because, I'm just getting it done. Who ends up with the nicer house? Maybe your missus does.
If it's ever completed.
5 years down the line. but
if
but
it's
actually,
ever completed.
But do I get to sit down in my house and feel like I have everything sooner? Yes. I don't know, mate. And in the end, what is the nicer house is going to be subjective. But I think there's benefits and drawbacks to both ways, right? There's benefits to doing loads of deals, fixing, you know, we have a squad hole. We think that might work. Let's try that. That doesn't work. Move them on. I mean, a big thing for Berta will be if things don't work, how quickly does he move them on? That's a way you can counteract the problems here. The way you could counteract with Edu is sort of the long-term approach is that you are definitely getting targets that you want, you know, whether it's a Rice or a Ben White or whatever it might be, and you get years and years of service. So that's obviously a benefit. I don't know really, mate. I think for where Arsenal are right now, as we sit here today, I like Berta's approach, to be honest. Because I don't think we're not building the foundations. And I think the foundations, so I'm talking the Sakas, Salibas, Rayas, Gabriels, the spinier team, the spinier team we have built brilliantly. Look, there's a reason Liverpool, whenever they've been successful in the last 5, 10, whatever years, basically, it's been because of Van Dijk, Alisson, Trent, and Salah. They've been their bedrocks. All four of them could move on, and you could go and spend £150 million on each of their replacements. Literally, you could go and do that. There's still no guarantee they work as a spine. We've been very, very fortunate to some degree, but we've also done a lot of work to get a spine that works. It's not easy. This idea that Man City, okay, but they're just going to go and spend a load of money. Okay, spending loads of money doesn't replace Kevin De Bruyne. You can't replace that in money. You have to find that somehow, and it's incredibly hard. So we've got the spine. So therefore, the sort of the outer stuff, the skills that we also are missing, maybe the Berta approach is better. I don't know.
I hear that. And Sure, you've been asked this many a time, yeah. But how important is it for Arsenal to get this summer right? Because the manager's come out and said goosebumps. We know we need a striker. We've known we needed a left winger even when Martinelli was in his great season. There's other areas to address. There's an element of outgoings and signing new deals. I don't know how much we can get done. And obviously, there's well, not really. Well, there is external pressure, but we're all connected to club. Fans want us to deliver. So, like, for you, how important is it for us to come out with a market that we can feel, yeah, you know what, the club have put their best foot forward in the pursuit of trophies?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's incredibly important. I also think it's important that we've moved proactively as well.
Facts.
And done. You know, I think I had a list of 8 things I wanted us to do this summer. I think we've done 5 or 6 already so far, and that's before we talk about. It was like, or we're doing at least. So I think it was the backup goalkeeper, which we've done with Kepa. I wanted another 6-8. We've done that with Norgard. I wanted Zubamendi, which we've done. I wanted a centre forward or a forward, basically, which would have been, I think, was third one. I think I have the list somewhere if you want it.
Yeah, find it, man. I'm intrigued.
So, yeah, so let me try and find it. It was just a screenshot on a video recently. Yeah, it's essentially like I'll try and find the list for you just when you're speaking in a second. But it's we've done that. Like we've gone through by what will be the 7th of July. I think the only outstanding things at the moment are the creative midfielder, which it looks like we're pressing ahead with Eze. I probably want some kind of left back, but I think that might depend on.
Oh, we got someone else who wants a left back, Alex. Well, yes.
It depends on Kivior Zinchenko, and we also we don't have much running power on that side, so I'm curious on that. And then it's a kind of I really want a world class forward, and I suspect that is Rodrigo who we're targeting. But I'll find a list, mate, and it's not done. No one's saying it's done. But do you know what frustrates me? Look, I'm a generally pretty positive guy. If the club, and I'm positive about the club, and I get it, and people will say you just protect the club and whatever. If the club weren't doing the things that and I'll bring up this in a second. If the club weren't doing this thing, I would be sat here 7th of July saying, I'm worried, bro. I would be, and I hope you know me well enough now that I would be saying I'm.
Well, I can't lie. We'll get onto your tweets in a bit, but I've even seen you're not, like you said, you're normally quite. I don't think you're deludedly positive, but I think you consider the negatives, and then you choose to look at it like be positive, innit? I think even looking at your tweets, you've been a bit more like not frustrated at the club, but yeah, let's get a move on. So I back that.
I'm trying to look. I think everyone's going to say I'm not biased. Of course, I'm biased. Everyone's biased. In fact, people who say they aren't biased are often the most biased people. I am biased. I have my bias because I'm a human, exactly. But I'm also sat here saying I've written 8 things for the club to do. They've done basically 5 or 6 of them. But the opposite. So if they weren't doing it, and the people who are bashing the club, they're not going to credit the club. So we have to credit. They're not going to say, actually, I was bashing the club and saying we weren't going to do anything.
Fair enough, you've done it now.
Fair enough, you've done it. They're not going to say that. So I think it's important to credit the club when they do. Let me find this thing here.
I think you're right, man. While you're looking for that, do you think it's just a case of signings? Because I think some Arsenal fans, as much as you've said all the names there, whether it's Sesko or Gyökeres, I don't really care, but I'm happy about Gyökeres. We'll get back to him in a bit. But, Gyökeres, Eze, Rodrigo, all of these names, it does whet the appetite. It gives us that star quality in the X factor, going back to when we went out of Bayern Munich. But I do think fans are incredibly naive if they think we just slap these players on the pitch and we're great now, really. Of course, that would help. Of course, that is a factor. Of course, for us to get to the next level, a lot of it is centered around recruitment. But I also feel, where I look at Mikel Arteta, I need you to have elements of being a bit more unpredictable. We need to penetrate central zones a bit more. I think everybody can see we need to be able to pivot at times when we've planned for something, it's not quite happening and things of that ilk. Basically, what I'm alluding to is, for me, I think it has to work in tandem with on the coaching front, or literally in the training ground and whatnot. I don't think it's just recruitment. Like, what do you make of that? I guess I'm looking for.
Yeah, it has to be beyond signings, 100%. I think if you look at the way we've dealt with, say, Tomiyasu, I think it shows a ruthlessness that I haven't personally experienced for a long time. It's bro, he basically, I think the season before he had like 23 appearances. Yes, he's been injury prone for a long time. Last season was the first season he had a completely injury hit campaign. He's gone.
6 minutes of Premier League football last year.
Yeah, and that's not enough. But my point is that before, Arsenal would not have done that. I'm pretty sure. I think maybe 3-4 years ago, certainly in the Wenger eras, we wouldn't have done that. This is new. This is new. The way we're acting, and you look at the contracts. I think Ethan's contract will get done soon. I'm sure all this stuff is posturing. We've seen it all before. I think it looks like we're trying to get Saka done. I suspect Saka and Saliba will sign after the transfer window because they're probably looking to see, okay, what are you going to do in the market? You're going to show me you're serious. Because they're not in a rush to sign. I think that'll get done in sort of September, October. So yeah, like in every aspect of the club, Andrea Berta, that's not a guy who we're taking a chance. It's not Jason Ato. You know what I mean? He's
going to Newcastle now, apparently.
Oh, is he? Okay, interesting.
He's in talks for that sporting director job. Can't blame him. Everybody wants to elevate in life. But yeah, it's not Jason Ato. Shout out for the Zubimendi help, though.
How interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you. But yeah, I'm looking across the sort of the work we're doing in general, and it feels pretty different. I've got the thing. If you want to, John, if I just share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So
you remove this one for a sec. Bring on Alex's one. Let's go. Manifesto settings.
So this is, I did this on my channel. I said that I wrote this on like end of May. I think I posted it early June. So this is what I wanted the club to do. Let's go through. Number one, I believe they are working on Rodrigo. And so, by the way, if we don't do that, everything, it's like, if we did another 6-8 and it's Norgard, but we've done everything else, I'm okay about that. If we just do Norgard and then we don't do anything else, well, then the Norgard sign looks much worse. You know what I mean? So it's all kind of relative. We know what they're working on Rodrigo. I think we've seen from the Athletic. I don't know what else the club could do to convince people that that's something that they're after. Zubimendi has been confirmed. Another forward is, I think, have we had the here we go yet from Fabrizio? Or certainly it's
no, but it seems that we're moving in that regards.
It's heading that way. We've got another 6-8 in Norgard. We've got a second goalkeeper in Kepa. We've got the prospect right centre back right back in Mosquera. I think the left
side as well.
Absolutely. I think the left fullback would be, I think will happen once Zinchenko and Kivior or Kivior maybe leave the club. And it looks like we're looking at Eze as well. And by the way, the creative midfielder was right down the bottom of my list because I was thinking if we get Zubimendi and two forwards, I think a lot of the creative issues come down. But ultimately, if the club see it's a bigger priority, this was just my pick, right? I can't write that in May, get to July where 5 or 6 of them are done, and then start going, oh, the club are disappointing me. They're doing exactly what I wanted them to do from my personal perspective. You know what I mean? Whether other people like it or not.
And you know what? That's the thing I would say on that list. Yeah, obviously you could caveat that with we might get those players. Like if we just look at the list and then it's not necessarily what we want. But in terms of addressing all areas, I like to think I'm a fair man. If you do everything I require, I'd say fair enough. Because let's all be honest, we should have done this all last summer, and it would feel like the last summer in a while, or this summer would be the summer in a while where we've kind of addressed all areas as you've put up there, give or take, provided everything happens. Like you've known what you've needed to do, you've gone and done it. Hopefully we get some outgoings. You touched on the Saliba and Saka and Wanyeri. Hopefully those contracts get signed. It'd be interesting. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but it'd be interesting to see, especially with Eze, if Wanyeri is actually going to commit to a new deal. I want to stay on the Tomiyasu thing a bit. Do you feel, that if Edu did this, there'd be more uproar? And do you feel that it was the right decision? Because I know he's injury prone and I do think we need to be ruthless. But at the end of the day, he's 26. He's probably going to rock up somewhere. Like, is it the right decision for you?
On the Edu thing, in what sense would he get more flack?
I genuinely think there'll be a lot of backlash if Edu, regardless of Tomiyasu's injury and stuff, just because they've been ripping up contracts. They would say, oh, we're not getting any money, blah, blah, blah. Not that I necessarily care because, again, he's got a year left on his deal. I think there's an option. I just feel maybe there'd be more of a negative air around it. Not necessarily because it's Tomiyasu, but like a stick to beat Edu with. Not that I'm praising him. Like, because whenever we rip up deals, this is what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually think that's quite a good point. I think probably it would be seen as a failure from the club and whatever, and maybe it's being taken in a different light now. I mean, ultimately, this is the whole thing, bro, isn't it? Football's perception. It's all perception. It's a lot of it smoke and mirrors, and we all just want the club to win. And how things are taken and how things are interpreted. Let that be the fodder for thousands of YouTube channels and podcasts and stuff. But ultimately, the club just needs to do what's right. And in my opinion, it's harsh, but I think it's right. So maybe you're right about Edu. But ultimately, I also think like people overrate how much the club actually care what people on Twitter think about stuff. Or
They don't
people on
care.
YouTube.
You know,
think
there's
about
been
stuff.
so many unpopular decisions when it was more darker times. I'm not saying they don't care, but and I'm not saying fans like you or me or anyone in the chat can't get things right or wrong. But any football club, if they just lived or listened to the opinions of people that are not in those situations, they might have more success. They probably won't necessarily. My thing with Tomiyasu, ultimately, I can sing all your praises and what you mean for the squad, and especially in terms of game management and closing out games, how great you are. But you've not been reliable. You've got a year left. Bert has probably looked at it without emotion and said, you know what, it's cheaper to rip up his deal. Let's just keep it moving. Obviously, we're bringing in a young lad from Valencia, so maybe his role's getting diminished, because I would not have Tomiyasu down as a starter per se, week in, week out. We all know why we need depth. So it is harsh, but at the end of the day, it needs to happen. And I think I speak for everyone. We wish Tomiyasu the best. I wish that you did, even if you were to leave, you didn't leave under that kind of remit, like with 6 minutes. Yeah. And I wish you all the best, man. Hopefully we see you again. So yeah, man, I know you're a big fan of Sesko. I am as well, yeah. But I saw your tweets. You spoke on Gyökeres with major flaws. This ain't a criticism, by the way, because as he said, yeah, like he just wants Arsenal to be a success. But in terms of humoring myself and yourself, and I even got my tweet up here, yeah. You spoke about this where you know, I think that's a goal where Gyökeres scored in the Championship, and you said it, you know, basically